Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you for another Film Fanatic show. It is Tuesday at about 10:58. So hope everyone's doing good. It is a pretty wintry day as normal, as you would expect here in Mid-Coast Maine during the time of January. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing good. I've been uploading a shit ton of videos, and I uploaded a bunch of new videos this past week, and just this morning started putting them up, finishing up what needs to be done to set the movies up and the shows up for the premieres. I've been doing that. That's been a big thing that's been different for me. Is I've been just kind of recording the videos. I usually record every day, and then I kind of take my time, at a leisurely pace, as far as when I put them up, just because I lately I've been seeing a ton of new movies, and it's been really awesome. I'm just like continually blown away by how miraculous this year has been as far as movies. 2024 has just seriously kicked ass, and I almost feel like I did a show earlier this month of the best horror films of 2024, and I kind of wish I waited a little longer because I've seen a couple of movies that I have been blown away by that should definitely be in the list, and especially this movie that I'm going to talk about today. And it's a funny little story which finally led me up to actually watching this movie. So, I in my habits and in my time, I buy a lot of movies, and so I end up getting a bunch of movies that I eventually, will watch, and it takes me some time to get through them. And then what I like to do is a lot of the times when I do, well, pretty much every time I do a show here, I usually watch the movie and then do the review. So it's usually in kind of real time. I like to do that even if it's a movie I've seen a bunch of times. I like to do that because it makes me I'm kind of more in the moment, and it's still fresh on my in my brain. So I do that with obviously brand new films, new movies I've never seen before, but then I do the same thing for, a movie I've seen 1,000 times. I just like to keep it keeps me alert, and I feel like I have a fresh kind of go at it as far as what I'm going to talk about when I'm focusing on a particular film. So it's been pretty amazing. This year has been, or 20, we're 2025 now, but last year was just incredible. And so I've been watching a lot of new stuff. So typically when I go see or rent new movies, I go to Opera House Video all the time. So that's usually what I do. And then I've been going to the movies uh, also, and I'm really excited. The next movie I'm really excited about seeing in the theater, and it's coming out, I think, really, really soon. The the new Lee Winnell film, The Wolfman. It's a new Bloomhouse uh, produced film. Bloomhouse is they have some very good movies, but then it's a pretty mixed bag. They have some movies that are not so great, but very cool. Lee Winnell is just I think a really fabulous director, and everything he's involved in is just fabulous. It's just awesome. The last movie he directed and wrote was the kind of the reimagining, if you will, of it's called The Invisible Man, and that came out a few years back, and that movie is just awesome. So he's directing this new film, The Wolfman, and supposedly he's going to be taking on the Universal monsters, and I believe this is the second one. So we'll see how this goes. The trailer looks incredible, and he's an awesome director. So the cast looks great. So I'm really excited to see that movie, and I'm definitely going to go see it in the theater. And I think it's coming out really, really soon. So if you're a horror fan, it's an exciting time to be alive. It really is. And I want to give a big shout out to all of the folks who have been subscribing to this channel, where we're almost at 500 now. And I really appreciate all the love and the connection with some folks I've met online through this crazy thing called Film Fanatic. And a lot of people have been commenting on a lot of these videos, so I've been having a lot of really cool dialogue with people back and forth, and that's been really awesome. So I really appreciate it. I love that there's other people out there that are just as fired up and as excited as I am about movies and cinema in general, and especially horror films. So the funny story with how I eventually saw this movie, and I rented it last night and I watched it. I had heard about this movie for a very long time. I actually had seen the case in the video shop all the time. And a quick plug is, I might as well get it in. A week from, actually next week, a week from this Thursday night on the 16th, we're going to be doing a quantum show at Opera House Video, and it's a 6:30 start time. Really excited about it. This is going to be a whole new kind of adventure and a whole new venture. Never done this before. So the promotion's been out, and I've been promoting it, and in the next couple of days I'm going to do more and more. So, if anyone out there on social media, Instagram and Facebook, that follows me, on this channel or my personal page, you'll see things about it, trying to promote it as much as I can. But it's going to be us, Quantum, and then my friend Leo, who plays in this really awesome local noise rock band called Osmia. Really awesome band, and he's gonna be doing a solo show, and he's gonna be doing a short set before we play. He's gonna play like a 15-20 minute set of some kind of improv, noisy kind of ambient stuff, and then we're gonna do a set after that. And so very excited. It's gonna be at 6:30 at Opera House Video right in Belfast, and we'll go for a couple hours or so, and we'll see how this goes. If it's a free show, so we'll take donations and tips or whatever if you have them. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. So come on by, and yeah, just excited to try to keep this band pretty active during the winter, and it's been a pretty good year. We've been playing some really fun shows lately, and we have another a really big show coming up next month, which I haven't announced yet, but I'm really excited about that, and that's going to be coming up next month. So there'll be a bunch of promotion coming up for that after this show is finished. So excited to keep the quantum train on the tracks. So today's movie is a movie that I finally saw last night, and it's called Oddity. It came out in 2024. So the funny history with this movie, as far as me finally seeing it, I have gone, I go to Opera House a lot. I've been going there more and more lately because there's been so many good movies coming out as far as new releases. So I saw the case for Oddity there for months. It's been out, I think, on DVD for maybe 6 or 7 months, quite a while. And I've gone there a bunch of times, Opera House Video, and I always, every time I look at that tape, I look at the tape, I look at the they have it on DVD there, and I look at the DVD case for it, the artwork, and I'm always like, yeah, it looks good, but I'm always thinking, in the back of my mind, and I've looked at it, I've taken it out, and I've come really close to renting it. And that literally has been going on for months. Really weird. And I end up renting, other movies, but I always end up putting Oddity back. I would always stick it back on the shelves. But the same thing happens, and it's happened probably like 10 or 12 times, literally. I'll come back in, return some movies, or I'll go in on a Saturday. A lot of the times I go to Opera House Video on like a Saturday and I rent movies. That's been my time to rent movies. And then it will happen all over again. I'll look at Oddity and I'll see, and I'm always like, it looks good. Like the artwork is really very cool. But then I just get this feeling from it that it's probably going to be just like pretty mediocre, or just kind of, like a kind of a generic standard horror film. and it never makes me excited enough to see it. And I had, and up until a few days ago, I didn't see any trailers for this movie. Didn't hear anything good about this movie or bad. I just haven't heard anything about it. Just simply seeing it on the shelves at Opera House Video every week, or every time I'm in there. Didn't hear anything about it. Nothing. And then so Pizzawell, who is a YouTube guy, who is a pretty awesome dude. He reviews. He's been around for like 12 years, 13 years doing his channel, and he's got a huge show, tons of followers. But he really is pretty spot on about horror films. He covers all things horror. He covers all kinds of movies, but he's really steeped in a lot of horror films. He's done tons of work on a lot of old school horror, 70s and 80s kind of grindhouse horror films, which is my jam. But he also is really good about staying pretty current, and he reviews tons of new films all the time. So, like 3 or 4 nights ago, I just happened to watch. Because it was the end of 2024. I've been watching lots of lists as far as people, YouTube people that I watch as far as their top movies of 2024, especially horror films. So I was watching one of his shows, Pizzawell's shows, where he was talking about his top 24 movies. And a lot of his picks were pretty awesome. And then when he picked the top one, it was Oddity. And he just said that this movie really was a masterpiece. He said it was just the best thing he's seen this year, last year now. One of the best movies he's ever seen. It is, and he was really good about not spoiling anything about the movie. He basically said, and it is it was a spot on, real good, solid kind of general review of the film. Oddity came out in 2024, and it's a real interesting kind of mixed bag. It's like a mixed bag of different things. On one hand, it's a suspense thriller film. It's a murder mystery movie. It's definitely a supernatural based horror film. It's got a little bit of a slasher vibe to it at times, or at least a little bit. A couple of sequences in particular, and it's a psychological thriller, it's got like a bunch of different elements to it. Even though I definitely consider this movie, it's definitely a horror film. So I was really intrigued, and so he raved about it. He said it was the best thing that he saw this last year, and it was on the top of the list. And it, for that particular list, it beat out a lot of movies that I had seen. So I was like, okay, I have got to see this. So I went to Opera House Video. I had to return some movies. I went to Opera House Video yesterday and rented Oddity, and I watched it last night. And this movie is a fucking masterpiece. And I kick myself for not seeing this movie when I first came across it. I didn't know anything about it. I went into this movie completely cold. And I have to say, this movie was. I wish I could redo my list for the best films of 2024. The top movies that I remember putting in my list, and I didn't really have a definite order, but the top films that I had was Nosferatu, and The Substance was the best movie I had seen. But I fell in love so much with Oddity that I feel like, I don't know. I almost feel like it's the best movie that I have seen in 2024. It's and it's tied with The Substance, I would say, and Nosferatu. But I almost feel this movie. The thing that's so amazing about this movie is just how it's such an um, it's so original. It's so fucking original, and I did not see anything coming. It's such a surprise. The three or four acts that comprise of this movie, each act when it segues into the next change in kind of the narrative, you don't see it coming, and there is so many great surprises in where the story goes and where and how it unfolds. It's creepy as hell. It's got some generally, I think, terrifying moments. Like it's legitimately scary at times. It kind of had a feeling for me of when I first saw The Babadook or Hereditary, two films that I thought were are just extraordinary, and they were really riveting. And I felt like what I was seeing was something really unique and fresh and original. That's what Oddity was for me. And the atmosphere in this movie is just absolutely incredible. I didn't know anything about this movie. I've said many times before, you know, going into a movie as cold as you can, for the most part, is kind of the way to go because you just never know. It could go badly, or it could be kind of undercooked. I had that experience with a movie that I saw this year. I had that same experience, or had that experience with seeing the Hugh Grant movie Heretic. I went into it totally cold. I heard a few things about the movie that were very, very, very good, and it really intrigued my interest. But I saw that in the theater, and that movie was really good up until the point it wasn't very good. And I was kind of disappointed with that movie. It was a letdown. But still, the experience of going into it, and I did a show on it, so get a chance to check it out. I went in; it was still a good experience. But ultimately, I was kind of disappointed with that movie because of the directions that it went. But I overall just went into it totally cold, and I did the same exact thing, even with less information, with Oddity. And boy, oh boy, I can't recommend this movie enough. It was directed by Damien McCarthy, who I have no idea who he is. Never heard of him. I guess he's done a few other films. This movie, Oddity, is an extraordinary horror film. I can't recommend this movie enough. I can't believe, and I've been watching a lot of top 10 lists and things like that and horror recap videos on YouTube, and I have not seen this movie really being mentioned that I can recall anywhere. And I'm like, that's a crime against humanity because this movie is so fucking good. It is. The thing that's so great about this movie is how it's so suspenseful. And it's definitely a horror film, but the thriller aspect of this film is so great because it's kind of a murder mystery too, on top of having all of these incredible supernatural elements. And it's kind of the ultimate balance of something that is kind of gritty and is realistic and is set in like a modern time, but then it has or something that's grounded, but then it has these other fantasy or horror elements that strike such a great balance with the entire storyline. Like the way they're able to balance all of those things is extraordinary. The cinematography is just incredible. The music is just incredible. The acting, the cast is just phenomenal. I think this movie is a all of most of the actors are all British. It's an English film. I believe the director's from England. Damn, damn. I kicked myself for not seeing this movie sooner. This will definitely be a movie I really, really need to get and want to get on Blu-ray. I watched it on DVD and it was incredible. And the thing that I love the most about this movie is just how so original it is. It's such an original movie, and it doesn't have like your typical there isn't like a set formula to how this movie plays out where it's so unpredictable. You don't know where it's going to go. And I just love that. Even step by step, scene by scene, there isn't any kind of level, there's no level of where you can predict where it's going to go. This is not a movie you're going to pop in and, go to the bathroom or make food and come back and be like, oh, okay, I knew that was going to happen. No way with this movie. You have to pay attention, you have to stay strapped in, and you can't leave your chair because you will miss so much. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant film. The opening sequence is incredible, and the ending is just awesome. Too often that happens sometimes with films where, you don't have the greatest ending to a film or a conclusion, and everything else can be very good. And it can be, you know, a big disappointment when that happens, obviously. But in this film, that is not the case. It's an extraordinary film. I recommend everyone to see this movie. It's probably, you know, I just you don't want to. I try not to always do it, and can be a little bit ridiculous when you want to say what's the best movie you've seen. But I just came from hot off the heels of doing a best of 2024 horror list of films, the horror films that I really thought were the best of last year. But at face value, I think this movie steals the show, just because of its utter the audacity of this film to be so damn original. Amazing, amazing film. So blown away. The Oddity, 2024. Please check it out if you get a chance. You won't be disappointed. Peace.